Hi, and welcome to the final session in our series called Wiser With. I hope you've been following along with us as we've been looking at these 4 things that shape us. It's really our intention to get the focus back on some of these key parts of our lives. In the first 2 sessions, we looked at internal things that shape us. We looked at how do we spend our minutes and how do we spend our money. You know, to some extent, these 2 things are things that we can privately decide ourselves. The second 2 sessions, like the one we did previously, they're more focused externally. We did wiser with our media. What things are we immersing ourselves in and what is shaping us? And today we're looking at wiser with our friends, or to put it in our language, wiser with our mentors. Now you might think, hey, I don't have any mentors. I don't sit down and have a formal mentoring relationship. Well, I want to put it to you that every one of us are shaped by the friends or the people that are closest to us relationally. You have had mentors and you have mentors in your life. It could be your mother, it could be your father, it could be your best friend, or maybe the person that you love. We need to, though, be very careful with who shapes us in these close relationships. Because eventually, over time, we are going to take on some of their characteristics. The things that are important to them are going to start becoming important to us. The advice they give us tends to be the advice we give. In fact, there's a huge rise in social media now where people are buying things or going into products or making decisions based on what friends are saying. And we know in today's culture, peer pressure is a big thing. You know, we're going to go into a story in the Old Testament that highlights the perils, I think, of picking the wrong counselors in life. We go into 1 Kings 12, verse 1 to 19, and this is repeated again in 2 Chronicles 10, 1 to 19. And it tells the story of Rehoboam, King Rehoboam. Now, to put this in context, you might have heard of King David, pinnacle of Israel's glory days. And then he had a son called King Solomon, probably the wisest man that lived by reputation. Well, Solomon had a son, and his son's name was Rehoboam. Now, Rehoboam had just become king, and he had 2 sets of advisors. And he was trying to figure out, what shall I do now that I'm king, now that I'm in charge? His father, King Solomon, actually taxed the people heavily because, you know, he was building not just God's temple, he was building his own palace. In fact, the Bible was to say that Solomon spent more on his own palace than he did on the temple of God. And towards Solomon's final years, it didn't go that well for him. And so he had advisors from his father's day, and then he had advisors that were his mates. And Rehoboam, he says to his friends and his advisors, should I tax the people more or less? And the older advisors, his wiser advisors who had lived through many sort of dynasties and the different kings, said to him, Rehoboam, you better ease off on those taxes because the people can't take it much more. And then his younger advisors, which were his friends, said to him, Rehoboam, you've got to show them who's boss. And you need to tax them double. You need to come in with a strong hand. And Rehoboam, he went with those who were relationally close to him. And he let them influence his decision making. And he increased the taxes. And this was the beginning of the separation of Israel into 2 kingdoms. In Rehoboam's reign, Israel was divided. And he left a legacy of the end of Israel. You know, in life, you're going to be asked to make a lot of decisions. And I want to put it to you that you don't make all your decisions in a vacuum, just by yourself. The people you turn to will most likely be those who are relationally close to you. So you need to be wiser with those who are close, those who are your friends and your mentors. We're going to look today at asking some questions about those people that you've put close into your life. We're going to say, what are the priorities of your counselors? Are they wise? Do they fear the Lord? The primary question we're going to be looking at is, whose counsel do you listen to? And I want to put it to you that it is so important for you to pay attention to the kind of people you turn to in crisis or when you're needing advice. Bill Hybels has a saying, though, about these counselors, and I really like it, and I think it guides us quite well. He says, weigh it, don't just obey it. And I really like that because, you know, sometimes people who might be relationally higher than you, maybe your parent or somebody who's older, they might come to you and they might actually not have good advice. And so what you want to be if you want to be wiser with your mentors, you want to adopt a position of weighing it, not just obeying it. It is possible that an ungodly person can give you good advice. That's definitely possible. But you need to be careful about priorities. When somebody who has a different priority system than you gives you advice, generally they're trying to lead you towards their objectives. So if they think education should be God, then when they give you advice, they're going to reflect that kind of priority. If they think having fun is the best thing, then they're going to reflect that. So as we become wiser with our friends and our mentors, I want to encourage you to dig deeper to see what their priority is. And let's anchor in on Psalms 1, which we looked at the last session even. And it says this: Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on the law he meditates day and night. Let's choose who we have as our counselors and our advisors. God bless.